Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Business Builders Podcast. I'm your host, Charles Stannis. Every business can create a website. However, not every business can use their website to generate effective leads and traffic that match their goals. Whether you're running a brick and mortar retail store or an online membership website, it's important that your website is generating effective leads and converting enough of your visitors into customers. Which, of course, brings us to our topic for today, what it takes to generate effective leads for your website. But first, let's meet today's guest, Nella DeCesar. She's the Managing Director for WBN Marketing. Nella, welcome to the show.
Hello. Hi,
everyone. Thank you so much for being here.
You're so welcome.
Before we kind of jump in, Nella, if you want to give the listeners a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, and what WBN Marketing is.
Absolutely. WBN Marketing of Florida is my company. We've been in business for 12 years here in Southwest Florida. We also serve some other clients across the nation, but mostly we serve from Cape Coral to Marco Island. I personally have been in the marketing and advertising business for about 30 years. So it's all I've ever done. And then I decided to open WBN Marketing of Florida in 2009, just because I felt like, I could do things better, I guess, as most people feel when they go to open a business. So I, definitely enjoy working very closely with the clients, talking about their marketing. We are a full service company. We do a lot of digital marketing, as you can imagine, building websites, SEO, pay-per-click, all of that fun stuff. But we also do a lot of other, traditional marketing things. We do a lot of brand development, logo development. We do a ton of direct mail. So we really can provide that full service solution to anybody looking, to kind of step up their game.
And your physical office, correct me if I'm wrong, is in Naples, correct?
Correct. We are based in North Naples. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again for being here. Like I said, our topic is all about basically how to take your website and transform it into, that well-oiled machine to take your leads that are coming in, to take your customers that are coming in, and hopefully convert them, into those high quality leads. Let me start off with this, because I would assume hopefully most of the people that are listening have a website for their business, we hope, and or they're starting to create a website for their business.
Right.
But talk to me a little bit about the importance of, that process of taking a customer, taking a visitor, who someone, maybe it's the first time that's coming to their website, to actually, get them intrigued about who you are and what you do, and to convert them into a lead, because this is essentially an art form, correct?
It is. And, it's not a super easy process. There's a lot of variables, and also a little bit has changed since COVID, as you can imagine. Prior to COVID, you had about 7 seconds to grab the attention of a user on a website. Since COVID, it's about 3 seconds. So unfortunately, the timeline there has shortened. So yes, and we've been attending a lot of different workshops in our industry to talk about this very topic. Like, it's even harder to generate a lead now through your website. So how do you do that? And I'm always amazed by like some of the basics that a lot of business owners have really not thought about before they went to build that website. And hopefully if you're working with a professional, which I highly recommend, that professional can lead you through some of these thoughts, to generate the right website. But, the first thing that is just ultra critical, even though it sounds very basic, is knowing your target market. A lot of times, I might ask, for example, a flooring vendor, who's your target market? And, the answer I might get is everybody that has a floor. Well, that's not correct. Yeah. We really want to drill down who the target market is, because, and I'm talking really, really specific, because the more specifics we can know about that target market, the more ways we can think of to find out what they really want. We know what they want. We know what they're after when they get to the website. And we will know how to give it to them to actually convert a visitor into a lead, if that makes sense. So, the first step is really understanding that target market and really, really drilling it down to a finite, whether that's one segment or, some businesses have multiple segments, really understanding. And I know that seems like a really basic thing to say, but I'm always surprised at how many small business owners or small to mid-sized businesses have not really thought about that and drilled that down.
Yeah, that's a great point to bring up. So we're talking about specifics like age, gender,
Exactly.
location, interest.
Lifestyle, are we talking, uber wealthy people, or are we talking middle class people, working folks, huge differences there. So once you're able to drill down those differences and understand who you're communicating with, then the task, gets much easier from there. So once you've figured that out, so to speak, then there are things we can do with the website from a technical standpoint to make it easier for your target market. So let me give you an example. So let's say, we have an e-commerce jewelry site and our target market, are females age 20 to 55. So we want to make sure that we're communicating with them, what do they like? Discounts on jewelry, free jewelry, things like that. And the other thing that's really important to understand, that homepage is so important because, like I said, you've got 3 seconds to capture someone's attention. So a lot of the design aspects, the technical design aspects on websites are completely changing. So you probably remember, well, and we have a lot of websites that are still built in this fashion where, you've got kind of the homepage with the top, really what we call a nice hero image or a nice video, very entertaining, but really not a lot of information, so you've kind of wasted all that space from the top down on pretty pictures, but no call to actions. You're not really telling that user target market what to do. So really, I don't even know what you do until I scroll down past the pretty pictures, and then I can guess what you do. So the design aspect that we're kind of working on these days is to really bypass that whole large dead area of pretty pictures, if you will, and put some call to actions on there. So basically the idea is when I arrive to your website, I need to know in 3 seconds or less exactly what you do and exactly how you can help me. If I have to scroll down half the page to understand what your firm does or what your company does, I'm out of there. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And one of the things I was going to ask, because it comes up a lot, is, and you just started to touch on it, is, making sure, I guess, the problem that you're trying to solve as a company or a business is on, that top section.
Right.
Because as
Correct.
we know, if people have to scroll down, they're already gone. Like you said,
That's right.
you only have 3 seconds, right?
That's right. So the design of the site, we really have to put a lot of thought into the design in terms of how to get them the minute they hit the site. Because every second that goes by where somebody doesn't understand what you do and how you can help them is just another reason for them to leave. And we all know people, people have the patience of gnats, right? Including myself. I am so impatient. When I go to a website, I want to see what's going on. I want the information now, and I don't want to have to scroll through 18 clicks to find it. And I'll tell you, I get to the point where, I'm so busy that if I don't get what I want, I'm out of there. And that's really what people are looking at. Different design aspects. And we specifically use WordPress to build our sites because Google loves WordPress, and SEO, search engine optimization is the name of the game, right? Being found online. So we like to use WordPress. And I notice a lot of the custom designs we're now doing, and even a lot of the themes now kind of have, we have a nice picture up at the top, but we also have a lot of room for call to actions. We're also putting buttons there to lead people to exactly where they want to go, if that's what they want to do. So, and of course the mobile site comes into play, ultra important. Once you figure out this very, optimized user experience, that has to translate into mobile. And we talked a little bit about target market before, and that really comes into play because if you're a business, for example, that serves older folks, it's hard for them to see things on a 2.5-inch screen. So you really want to make sure that the most important aspects of your website are front and center on that mobile device. A mobile optimized, there's a difference between mobile optimization, and mobile friendly. Okay, mobile friendly, might be a website that's just shrunken down to fit on a screen. That's not a mobile optimized site. And definitely people should know the difference. Mobile optimized is when that mobile site is created with the right features up front. So when I say the right features, a phone number, maybe a form, information that's front and center, obviously a call to action and contact information, instead of having the pretty picture come up at the top of the mobile site, let's give them, the actual information that they're looking for, because it's already hard to see this information on, a 2-3 inch screen. So you want to make sure when they're on a mobile device, they have the convenience of calling you or shooting a form over, or just finding information that they need, as opposed to scrolling through the pretty pictures, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I know you touched a lot on the design aspect. Can you talk a little bit about kind of the language aspect and how
Yes.
important that is to, I guess, make sure you're using the correct language for your target audience?
Yes, absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up. Obviously we want to use strong, clear call to actions, but, be careful about the terminology that you're using. I work with a lot of like home service businesses, and, they talk in contractor language, and, I come from a family full of contractors. So luckily I speak the language. But a lot of lay people who might be visiting your site don't speak that contractor language, or maybe you're an IT professional and your clients, we know, don't speak that IT language, right? Like most people. So you really have to use very clear terminology that normal lay people understand. And I hate to say the term dumb it down, because that sounds really kind of insulting, but it is very accurate when I say we just want to simplify the language. So again, if you're like an IT professional and you're talking about networking and, all of these IT terminology, and, the IT industry has tons of acronyms, as we know, and so does my industry. So try to refrain from using the acronyms. On my content that we write for websites, I always spell everything out and maybe do like an acronym in parentheses that's grammatically correct, and explains to people what it is. Because if I just say SEO, for example, people don't really know what SEO is. They
Yeah.
may even know, some of them may even know that SEO stands for search engine optimization, but a lot of people don't really know what that means. And to be really honest with you, that's just a big fancy word for how we optimize a website for visibility. It really, it's a lot simpler than you would think. So it's super important, not to talk in acronyms, and to really, again, this all goes back to the basic thing of knowing your audience. If you know your audience is the older crowd, if you know they don't understand contractor or IT speak, write it, or have a professional help you write it, so that it will resonate with your target audience. Because if it resonates with them, then they understand what you do, and then you have more of a chance of converting a visitor to a lead.
Yeah.
So yeah, utilize those strong, clear call to actions in layman's terms that everybody can understand. And sometimes business owners are so close to the industry, they don't know what that language should be. So that's when it really makes sense to hire a professional to have you write that, so that we're making sure that we're resonating with that target market.
Yeah, definitely. Well, one of the things I wanted to ask, you had mentioned it, is, utilizing buttons and links and forms.
Mm-hmm.
Could you talk, I guess, the difference of why a certain type of business or a certain industry would want to use a certain call to action versus another? That makes sense?
Uh, you know, every industry should have a call to action in my mind. Whether it's a certain set of words for one industry versus another, I think that is best decided based on who we're going after. For example, maybe your industry maybe your industry needs an evaluation on their business. Let's say you're a business broker and you like to offer a complimentary evaluation, on your business. So that might be a button that would spur somebody's interest. Wow, a complimentary evaluation on my business. Yes, I would like that. So, I think it's going to come down to the industry, what the call to action is. And, the trick to converting that visitor into a user is providing something value added that is of value to them. And I'll give you an example. I talk with a lot of businesses who are like, I hate to go back to the complimentary evaluation, but I'm going to use that as an example because it's very common. We'll give you a complimentary evaluation, but here's the thing. So will all of your competitors. So you're not really standing out because I can get a complimentary evaluation from all of your competitors. Everybody's saying the same thing. So the trick is to not say the same thing and offer something a little more of value that somebody, might, they have to perceive it as value, not you. And that's the other thing. I would say for a lot of business owners, they're always looking at what they perceive as a value and saying, oh, that's, too much, or that's not enough. It's really not about you. It's about that target market. And if you don't know the answer, then you can survey a small group of your current clients. And trust me, the current clients will tell you the truth. Mine are very honest. So, just survey, your top 5 clients and ask them, what is so valuable about our services that you love and what would you like to see? That is a super easy way to find the answers to these questions and then use that, for your website. So yeah, it has to be a perceived value because you might think a complimentary evaluation is great and worth X amount of dollars, but your client is like, well, I can get that anywhere nowadays. What makes you different? It's really about standing out and offering value. It's not about cost, it's about value. And I have to remind business owners that all the time because they're like, well, this costs that much. So it's like cost is not value. You know what I'm saying? It's a perceived value. Not to kill this like a dead horse.
So I was going to say, I guess the takeaway for that is, really try to figure out what your customers want. And if you're not sure what they want,
find out.
Yeah.
Exactly. And, again, this all goes back to knowing your target market. And it's a very basic marketing thing that travels across all mediums, whether digital or traditional, but you can't be successful and turn users into leads, qualified leads, unless you know who you're talking to. So it really all goes back to that, doesn't it?
Have you seen success when we talk about, giving value to signups or registrations or leads? Have you seen success utilizing more common mediums like infographics or ebooks or kind of like those how-to things?
I do. Yeah. The ebooks are kind of getting a little, I think the ebooks are great, but I feel like they're getting a little past their shelf life. But I'll tell you why. I think if we could revamp the ebook, it really needs to be short and sweet. People just don't have time to read a 16-page ebook. You know what I'm saying? No matter how great the information is, it's probably awesome, but they just don't have time. So if you can break that down to a 1-sheet infographic, awesome. That somebody can download, see it. It's right there. They can start using the information without having to read a 16-page dissertation. So if you're going to do kind of the ebooks or download the information, keep it short and sweet and to the point. It doesn't always have to be an ebook either. It can be what I love, and a lot of the people in the audience probably know who HubSpot is. I have a lot of clients that use it for, content management and CRMs and things like that. It's a great company. And I download their stuff all the time. They have what I love. They have templates. Here's a social media calendar. That's a template. You just download it. It's free. It's an Excel spreadsheet. It's already formatted. And you just to me, that's a useful tool. If you're doing your social media, that is. But offering templates, different tools, if you're an accounting firm, maybe offer a simple budgeting template for somebody to figure out their new year budget, something to that effect. So as long as it has value to the audience, you can pretty much do whatever you want for a download. Just be really cognizant of how much time it's going to take for the person to read it, of course. And is this tool useful? And if you're not sure if this tool is useful or what kind of tools would be useful, then again, survey your top 5 clients, say, hey, if I gave this to you, would this tool be useful? And I'm always shocked because as somebody who's been in marketing for 30 years, I'm like, wow, I think this is going to be super useful. And then when I do the survey and talk to people, they're like, no, not so much. So, it's really hard to predict user behavior. And a lot of people do that, even when they're doing search engine optimization and they're picking those keywords or they're beefing up the website. We want to do that based on hard cold facts. So surveying your clients is a great way to find out, is this tool useful to you? And once you find out what's useful to them, then that's what I would use on my website, pure and simple.
Awesome.
So
That's great
yeah,
advice.
so yeah, and just and most people probably already know this, but marketing and branding is not a guessing game. We've come not anymore anyway. It was in the beginning, stages of my career, way back in the day when the internet wasn't even around. Thank you very much. But nowadays we have a lot of information at our fingertips. We have a lot of ways to communicate with people easily. We have Zoom, we have constant contact, we have emails, we have, we can survey people and get information. So there's no reason why we have to guess. We can actually find out what people want and give it to them. And then the other thing I wanted to mention too, you can make your website look as wonderful and have all the call to actions, the design, everything is great. But if nobody sees your website, then there is no lead generation. So the other aspect that I'd like to talk about too is, not only creating the website and the content, but actually promoting that website. Paid search engine indexing is what you really need to do to drive traffic to a website. When you first build a website, people don't just show up because Google doesn't know it exists. It takes Google 60 to 90 days to even start ranking a brand new website with brand new content. We can usually drive traffic within a few weeks, but that ranking is going to take a few months because the internet's a really big place. So, I meet a lot of business owners who unfortunately still think that if you build a website, people are just going to show up. So a lot of our job is to educate people, to let them know the web build is a separate task from actually marketing it. So once the website is built, then we want to start putting it out there so your target market knows where to find it. Okay. And then it becomes a numbers game. So we drive X amount of traffic to the site, and we know that we can convert 4% of those visitors. So you want this many qualified leads. This is how many leads we have to drive to the website. So we're working backwards. Does that make sense? I know I'm getting a little technical here. So it really becomes a numbers game. So once you have the right content in place, once you have the right design in place, you know who you're marketing to. Now it's a matter of getting enough people there to convert to generate a qualified lead. So it is definitely a multi-step process. It does not happen overnight. An SEO, a search engine optimization program, you definitely want to have minimally a 6 to 9 month commitment to let it index and do its thing, right? Any less than that is really just a waste of time and money, unfortunately. But if you can hang in there and look at it like a cost of doing business for marketing and driving people to that website, then you're on the right trajectory to get those numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I wanted to touch on, especially nowadays when, like you said, people have so much information at their fingertips, I think a big driving factor to, taking the customer and actually converting them, or excuse me, taking the visitor and converting them into that customer phase, especially nowadays. Can you kind of touch on reviews and testimonials and how that might affect or sway a visitor's mindset?
Super important. Super, super important. Glad you brought it up. Testimonials are paramount. People want to know that other people had a good experience with you. And if they don't see that, they're going to find the next guy that will provide them that, so to speak. Written testimonials are always great. Google reviews obviously are always great. But I have to tell you, in terms of search engine visibility and content, video testimonials is like king of the crop right now. So I always encourage, our customers and clients to, video testimonial. And, nowadays, it doesn't have to be this $10,000 video production, event. Obviously your phone, your iPad takes great video, as we know. And just, the best time to get a customer to do a video testimonial. Because, sometimes people are like, oh, I don't want to be on video. And, look, I hate myself on video too, but I'm used to it. So I just don't even look at myself anymore. It's kind of like I'm used to it. But a lot of people still feel that way. But I'll tell you, the best time to get a client testimonial on video is when you just delivered the product and they're so excited. So for example, like a realtor, as soon as you hand the keys over, you're at the closing table, let's shoot a 30-second video. Just tell me about your experience. Let them roll. That is so valuable and organic. I can't even tell you. And then as far as like search engines, obviously, Google owns YouTube. So obviously they're going to rank their content much higher than, let's say, a Vimeo account.
Yeah.
So, get those video testimonials on YouTube, then do a testimonial video feed right into your WordPress website. So when you update those testimonials on YouTube, they will automatically feed into the website. So you don't have to update in two places. So it's easy to manage. And obviously your webmaster can help you manage that, or your marketing professional. But video content, just generally speaking, very strong with testimonials and very strong with just other content. So yes, to answer your question, testimonials for greater credibility is absolutely paramount. And if you can go a step further and get them on video, even better for search engine visibility and
Awesome.
credibility.
I know you had touched on it at a couple of points, but one of the things I wanted to talk about is, when do you think someone should basically reach out to an expert to help them with these things, right? Because obviously every small business, might not have the budget to utilize it.
Of course.
But in your mind, is it a time thing? Is it a resources thing? Is it a position thing? Like what's usually the best in your mind?
It's all of those things, actually. And I can definitely give you, we work with, gosh, I think some of my smallest clients are one-man shows, if you will. And then I've got, large companies who employ, hundreds of people. So it really depends. But here's, most small businesses, when they first start, there could be some budgetary issues. And, at some point, like a lot of small businesses will say, hey, I don't really have the budget, so I'm going to put a Wix website up right now. It's just for online visibility. And that's fine, not to knock Wix or the do-it-yourself platforms. Some of them are really great, but a lot of them are very limited on search engine indexing. So once your business gets to a point when you're not doing it yourself anymore, like if you're a business owner that has gotten to a point where you don't have time to do your own marketing and your marketing is kind of falling to the wayside, that's a great time to call a professional. Like our bread and butter clients are the clients who, let's say they've been running their business, for like 10 years and they're making money, their revenues are really good, but they've kind of ignored their marketing for a little while. And maybe they've said in the past, we don't need marketing because we have, the snowbirds are coming, that, right? So there's no reason why you should be a seasonal business. Let me just add that in here as well, since we're talking about it. There's no such thing as a seasonal business here in Southwest Florida anymore, in my opinion. There are so many people living here year round that if you're a home service or even a mom and pop shop, you should be marketing to people who live here year round. You can have business year round and not have to worry about seasonal budgetary issues. I'll say that. And certainly we can help you do that. But for that smaller business who is now finding out like, okay, I'm a business owner, I don't have time to do my emails anymore. It is so important that you stay in front of people though. So you don't want to let your marketing go to the wayside, right? So you want to hire a professional. The other thing is, it's fine to start out with a do-it-yourself website, but I'm going to tell you, if you can avoid it, if at all possible, try and start out with a professional website and hit the ground running the right way in the beginning. Because if you go through the trouble of learning Wix, and it is a learning curve, and your website, and if you're not willing to learn that, your website's not going to look professional, okay? It does still require a learning curve. But at some point, even if you use like a Wix or a GoDaddy builder, you are going to have to move to a professional website, because you're going to have limitations on search engine indexing with Wix and some of these do-it-yourself platforms. So at some point, you're going to have to reinvent that wheel. So if you can start on the right foot from the beginning and have that professional website and build that search engine indexing, which is cumulative, by the way. So the more you do it, the better it becomes over time, right? If you can start out on the right foot and do that first, that would be best. But we know some businesses do have budgetary constraints. If you can also find a professional partner, like for example, we offer website leasing, right? We're one of the few people in this area that offer that. And what that is like, for example, I have a startup business, and they have like over 1,000 products to put on an e-commerce site, but they don't really, they're a startup, so they don't really have the revenue right now. And e-commerce sites can be rather costly. They can, with products, you're
Very
talking,
complicated.
minimally $5,000 on up, right? For a good website that attracts the whole 9 yards, right? So a lot of these smaller companies don't have the revenue to really put that forth up front. So we offer website leasing, where it's almost like a car lease, where you can lease a website for a certain amount of years and continue to pay on it. And then when you get to the end of that cycle, you can either decide to buy it out and the website belongs to you, or you can maybe trade it in for a better website or go elsewhere. So, we offer that, so that we do have payments for those type of websites if you're looking at a large website. So, and we've also been flexible. We have some clients who, typically we ask for half up front and then the rest as we, hit some milestones. But, we've extended multiple payments to clients just depending on their situation, because I'd honestly rather see you with a professional website like WordPress, that works with the search engines and start out on the right path, then see you do something on Wix and then have to come back to us 3 years later and we have to help you reinvent the wheel,
Yeah.
and you've gotten nothing out of that prior effort. So I know I took the long way around, but I hope that answers your question a little bit.
Yeah, no, definitely. Great advice there. I do have one last question I want to leave our
Sure.
viewers with. I know we've talked about a lot today, important aspects, but for people who are just starting out,
Mhm.
what would you say is that number one thing to get people to start to take their website to, convert those visitors into customers? So there was one kind of thing that they should prioritize versus everything else.
I would, in terms, we're assuming that having a website, the website is your control center. So any type of marketing that you're going to do, whether it's Facebook marketing, whether it's pay-per-click, SEO, search engine optimization, any of that stuff, that website is a command center. You're essentially driving everybody back to that site. So, I meet a lot of people that want to do Facebook before they even have a website. Don't do it. Facebook is not a replacement for a website. Okay. What you want to do is have a budget for some type of professional website. That's probably the best advice I can give you to start out. Just make sure that you have some kind of budget, some type of strategy for a website that looks professional, so that you have the credibility to start, growing your business. That's really the best advice I can give. And there are vendors out there that will work with you in terms of payments and leasing and things like that. Just find somebody that can offer you that. But the website is that command center. If you don't have that and you're doing marketing, there's nowhere to send people so they can see your testimonials, your credibility. A Facebook page is not a web page. So I think that's probably the best advice I would give, is just really start out on the right path so you don't have to go through this exercise again 3 years down the road. So having a professional website from the very beginning is so paramount to the future success of your business.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Nella. How can our
Thank
listeners
you.
find out more information about what we talked about? Maybe they have more questions and they want to follow up.
Sure.
Where can they reach you?
Well, you can reach me directly always. I own the business as well as being the managing director. So my cell is 239-919-0933. You can also visit our website, which is wbn-marketing.com. If you go to Google and just type in WBN Marketing of Florida, we will pop up. I guarantee it. You can go to our website and you can call me directly if you'd like.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nella.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed listening to this episode, make sure to click that subscribe button so you never miss another show. Join other professionals looking to grow their business with SWFL Inc. at SWFLinc.com and sign up for a free membership today. Thanks so much for listening to Business Builders. We'll see you next time.